Tyrese Maxey is so special. Tyrese Maxey is a stud. This team finds ways to win. And it's hilarious because I saw the reaction when they were down and it was the first quarter and the Cavs were scoring at will. I saw some Sixers fans all upset going, uh-oh, I wish we were playing the Knicks. See, I told you so. It was only because it was against the Knicks and it was against Minnesota. Wait until you see a good team. This is what happens, Lee. You saw the Cavs get some shots, maybe from not some of their best players, and go, oh, you even heard Allah talk about it on the broadcast. Something about a young team would probably get a look like that later on in the game, while you have Maxey stepping up and drilling shots. And the reason why he's able to blossom and grow the way that he has is because of all the veteran leadership around him. I'm hearing Doc Rivers stress about how much that he really incorporates tough coaching on him and talks about being aggressive nonstop. James Harden, his presence on the floor is why the Sixers are even capable of doing this, okay? Maxey's wide open, and then when he puts himself in great positions, he's executing as well. I was thinking to myself, is it possible, and I don't want to get too far ahead here because I'm living in the moment and I'm appreciating this playoff run that the squad is going to go on, and that's why when you're Daryl Morey, you do exactly what you did instead of doing what some of the dopes out there wanted to do, which is trade Ben Simmons for nobody. Come on, James Harden's washed. This was just an okay game for Harden. This was just an okay game for Joel Embiid. They're still definitely finding their rhythm as an entire squad, but when they do, 25 here, 20 plus for someone else, 33 for Max. These were just okay games for Harden and Embiid. Harden had 25 and 11. Embiid looked a little frustrated at times, and you could see his body approach to that for sure, and his demeanor. He was getting upset. Nobody could even pass him the basketball in the post, and that was a problem prior to James Harden getting here. That anybody outside trying to inbound a damn ball into the post area or bounce the ball, make any sort of pass, you're not getting it on time. There's knowledge of the game of realizing that, hey, boom, right now, you have a window, you have an opportunity to get the ball into Embiid's presence here. Let's go. And that's something that they're going to have to continue to work on when you think about staggering some of these minutes when it's the Harden plus bench or Harden and Tobias Harris plus some bench pieces. I'll tell you what, though, the combination of Niang and Harden, I think, can go a long way. And why do you think that is? Because your primary ball handler is actually a threat to score the basketball. And when that's the case, it opens up the floor for everybody else. It's really not rocket science, right? They struggled against the zone at times in this game. And I thought Matisse Thybulle was problematic offensively. He played 17 minutes. He got into a ton of foul trouble, and he couldn't score a bucket at all. And then there was that action ran late in the second half, and it was Matisse Thybulle, wide open for three. Nothing but iron. Shake Milton basically gets the same exact look moments later and drills it. And that's the difference when you have spacers. And I'm not telling you Shake's even a great spacer, although he did have a nice burst and a little sense of urgency out there tonight. You just see the difference on how you have to, execute there. One is Shake Milton delivering a wide open look. And this is why I get frustrated with Matisse. Not that today's the day to do this. I'm sorry. I apologize. But I have to at least mention it. They were getting shelled offensively, were they not? Or I should say the Cavaliers offensively in the beginning stages, they started out 9 for 9. Kevin Love's hitting shots from Saturn, it seemed like. He was able to score at will, hit some deep threes, but their defense was atrocious. And if you say, well, if he wasn't on the floor, it would even be worse. I don't know how much worse it could have gotten than allowing 40-plus points to this Cavs team early in the first frame. I hate to break it to you. Okay, so that's where I get confused with, okay, Matisse Thybulle is a game changer defensively, but then you have these games where the other team is operating at such a high clip anyway, and then he's giving you zero on the offensive floor. these style of games happen more often than I would like to. And that's where I'll draw the line today on Thibault. I know I can really get into his grill and fire off all sorts of criticism at him. But just like I'm taking the approach of, if you want to focus on Tobias and maybe Furkan not having their best level of basketball being played right now, you can scream about that, but I'll focus on the greatness. That's the message I've been stressing as of late, and I have to keep that 100 with this too. My philosophy here is I was bothered. There's no doubt about it. Deep down, my gut despises what I saw from Matisse offensively, and even with those fouls too, even though you can complain that the referees had their poor moments, but ultimately Matisse just wasn't sharp enough. I'll focus on the fact that Maxey's legit. And I don't know if I even finished my point that I was talking about a little bit earlier here. I'm on a roll. I'm on a rhythm. I'm like Tyrese Maxey in the third quarter and bang, hitting big shots, and I'm like Niang, bang, getting the crowd going at the Wells Fargo Center. But is Tyrese Maxey even better than we anticipated? Look, at the time of the draft, there were a lot of people involved saying, they're good. They're good. This kid is good. The Sixers are good. They're in a great position with this young player from Kentucky, and they probably benefited from the fact that there was no March Madness tournament that year due to COVID protocol, so he slid. If he had a time to be on the big stage and to be on CBS and to have those March Madness ties to him, would he have slipped into the 20s? Probably not. And don't forget, you needed a Mike Muscala 3, too. Oh, how laughable. But I wonder, even though we knew he was going to be a good player, we were very intrigued by him, is it possible that he's actually like a real star? Like a star. Like when you acquire a James Harden, he changes your franchise. Why? Because he's a star. We feel as great as we do about a potential run. Why? Because of Joel Embiid. Now, I'm not telling you he is. I'm just asking the question because it's obvious that the kid is wired differently and he just improves like no other. The kid had, 9 free throw attempts today? 9 free throws. 9. He averaged one free throw a game last year. Now he's hitting threes. He's hitting step backs. He's a killer. He's an actual killer. Where if I need a bucket, I'm going through Maxey. Obviously Harden, but I'm just saying, the fact that you have a secondary option who could do it at this level, at this rate, at this efficiency, what are we talking about here? 5 apples, too. So 5 threes made, 5 assists, 5 apples, as I like to call them, and 33 buckets. His speed is miraculous. Now, defensively, no doubt about it, he was getting shredded at times, and it is tough to witness. But you just figured, okay, the Cavs weren't going to keep up that forever. The Sixers would eventually bring their defense. We saw this against the Knicks the other night at the Wells Fargo Center. You're booing and you hate it. Joel Embiid didn't look as dialed in when it comes to the defensive side. And then what do you know? There was a different level of a kick in the ass at halftime, and the team just came out flying. Now, I don't love the fact that it's a slow start and they seem unprepared or unwilling to compete, maybe is the right way to say it. It seems like the other team is clearly doubling their energy in the last couple of games here. Maybe they feel they can roll the ball out and just beat whoever. Or maybe there's a correlation between them just becoming a squad and having to learn how one another likes to perform and where their certain sets are on the floor. I mean, look, let's be realistic. How many times did we witness a random possession throughout the game that resulted in 3 good looks, but they just kept passing it around? And I saw a sequence where Tobias Harris was getting yelled at by Doc Rivers on the bench, and he did have some shots here and there periodically throughout the game that I thought mattered and did make some sort of noise, but at the same time, he didn't drill any threes, and that's what he's going to have to do a lot more with the way that this team is being spaced out. It's just that simple. Niang's hitting them, Maxey's hitting them. That's what Tobias Harris is going to have to blossom into. Someone you could rely at a 37% clip, whether it's 2 threes, 3 threes. I don't know how many 3-pointers it's going to be a night, and I'm just talking about attempts more so than actually made. 4 or 5. I would like it to be about that. I mean, that means the attention is being drawn to your big 3. I love saying that, but that's what we have here. And then Tobias Harris wide open from the corner. That's what it's going to have to be, and he needs to drill those for sure. I do see some donations coming in the chat. I want to thank you guys. Of course, I'm just kind of getting through my initial thoughts here on the game. And by the way, if you're new to the channel, make sure you smash that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up button as well. I greatly appreciate it. Welcome on into Sports Talk with Broads, by the way. I think I just got fired off out of a cannon like Maxey and just kept going on a roll. So I don't even know if I properly opened the show. I was just that stoked and that pumped up with what I saw. I'm sitting there laying on the floor, which is stupid by me because I have a nice couch, a nice leather couch. I got a nice fireplace. I can hit my feet button and my feet fly up and I can kick back and lay back. But instead, I'm laying on the floor playing with my puppy, going crazy, smacking on the floor, right? When Tyrese Maxey hits a three, I'm like, you got to be kidding me, Zola. She's going crazy. She's starting to jump backwards, when their ass goes in the air and they start barking, going, that's what she's doing to me. Well, I'm sitting here smacking the ground because I'm pumped up that Maxey's balling the way that he is. And I just feel like we think he's good now. He has zero experience. Seriously, though, this kid doesn't even know yet. He doesn't even know yet what he's capable of doing and what he's going to be able to be all about. I'm dead ass serious. And I say that with all due respect. I say that with he thinks he knows. Just wait, because the project already of Tyrese Maxey, the fact that we're here and this is serious, this isn't a fluke, this isn't a joke. Right? When Furkan has nights where he scores 28, what do? He sucks. He's bad. He's not good because it doesn't translate. It's just not real. It's fake. It's a mirage. Tyrese Maxey is the complete difference, and he's a serious threat. That is a no-brainer, and he's got so much more to his game that's not even untapped yet. It's not even unlocked. This is just the beginning. So very, very too early in the career of Tyrese Maxey. I raised the question at 10 o'clock p.m. on the dot, March 4th, 2022. How serious are we talking here? Is this a future Harden, Embiid, Kawhi Leonard, like that level of star? Why not? Why not at this point? This kid's a dog. He really is. And it's funny, the other day I see Markelle Fultz, all sorts of videos on Twitter, and I wish him the best. Now, I have no hatred for that face like I once did. Now I just feel sorry for everything that he had to go through physically with the injury last year, and just hoping that he can have a nice little resurgence, if you will. Think about the turn of events, and I'm sure we hear this all the time as Sixers fans, right? Go back to the Brian Colangelo and the Sam Hinkie. They can make a documentary, and I know that's why it's so loud, I guess, that is always being talked about, because yeah, it would be a mind-blowing experience to sit through the journey that was the Philadelphia 76ers to get here. But this is everything you could have imagined Markelle Fultz being, and if not even more, right? I mean, I had high ceilings for Markelle Fultz because of what we saw at Washington, and he did have a game there. He was actually someone who can play basketball there, and he was an efficient guard that could put the ball in his hands. But what am I doing here talking about? I can't even think of his name, and I keep stuttering when I try and think about it. I want to say Furkan Korkmaz, Markelle Fultz. What am I doing? Am I sick? Am I sick in the head? Am I a sick bastard to be analyzing this game and Markelle Fultz is brought up? This dude in Tyrese Maxey is 5 billion times the player he will ever be. And that's the moral of the story. There's so many layers to his game that I can't wait to just continue to improve nonstop. So basically, I wrote out a list of how pathetic it was early on. Okay, Harden and Embiid, through the first 5 minutes, okay, we witnessed one shot from them. So it was sloppy. Their offense had zero, and they couldn't operate at all. It was kind of brutal. They allowed 43 points in the first quarter, passing up wide open looks. Defense was awful. Harden foul trouble early in the second quarter. He picked up his third, but he also got that abysmal call called against him when he was at the 3-point line and he kicked his leg, and then they called that an offensive foul on him. So he was in some foul trouble. Thibault contributing 0 points offensively as a starter, and at some point that really costed you. They battled through it. They win basketball games. That's what they do. And I know that there was a portion of Sixers fans and outside fans and national media attention that were rooting for the Sixers to fall. But now they win. And the Brooklyn Nets that everyone still foams out the mouth about, right? They just drool nonstop. You ever get one of those dogs that just drool all over the place and you look at your pant leg afterwards and it's drenched and it's soaked? There's people that do that for the Brooklyn Nets still. While you have no idea what they're going to be. And then how about that Seth Curry crowd when he first went to Brooklyn and Kevin Durant wasn't there and Kyrie Irving wasn't there? Oh, he's got 20 points. Yeah, he did that here. You can look through a bunch of game logs and see plenty of times when that happened. The difference, though, is he had an 8-point night the other night and didn't shoot very well at all. How come you're not keeping up with that anymore? Oh, that's right, because there was an overreaction to thinking Seth Curry and Andre Drummond and a handful of draft picks and being protected too, may I add, was apparently too much for James Harden. You mean the guy today gave you 11 assists, dished out 11 dimes? The guy who went to the charity stripe 12 times? The guy who had big 4-point play? Getting fouled, step back anyway. He just delivers a calming presence when you most need it. One team had a veteran guard, very savvy, understanding. The other team, super young guard, Garland. And I like Garland. Kid's a baller. He's going to be super fun and entertaining for years to come. But when you need it most, who's getting you good looks? Who's drawing attention from the other team's defense and then opening up lanes for wide open shooters? Whether they took the shots or not, that's a totally different discussion. And there were plenty of times where that wasn't it and that wasn't clean. And they kept passing around and passing around. What are we doing? Shoot it. Let it fly. Why is there any sort of hesitation? There's not a defender even 5 feet from you. But the most important part was this team, they rallied together, and whenever they're down 20, if they're down 16, I'm not happy that they're in that position to begin with. But let's be clear, they're not fazed by it, and they just end up cracking in the league. We all watched the lead get smaller and smaller and smaller. Did we not? It went to single digits. Tyrese Maxey's making plays all over the damn court. It's a single-digit lead now. What did we all think? We've seen this a billion times. We've seen this play nonstop. Sixers will be fine. They'll get Embiid late, couple buckets. What do you know? Embiid late, a couple buckets. James Harden with his poise. What do you know? James Harden with his poise. Tyrese Maxey. What do you know? Tyrese Maxey. Who's the third of the big three? I love watching the reactions of the players. I love watching James Harden and Embiid embrace what Tyrese Maxey's doing. You could tell that they have pretty much brainwashed him, in a good way, I'm saying, brainwashed him into this mentality of screw you. Seriously, when he has the ball in his hands, he thinks nothing other than screw everybody else. This is my time. I got this. Watch this. He just steps back in rhythm. Isn't it incredible? Where did this come from? Even the biggest Tyrese Maxey supporters on planet Earth wouldn't have never imagined in a billion years he'd be closing out games to this level. The Sixers would be down double digits, and solely because of his energy, now they're back involved. And that George Niang 3, there was the one after the block, too, bringing it defensively. And that's what this team has talked about, specifically Joel Embiid. I pace myself, he says. I've learned about an 82-game regular season before. You got to pace yourself. Now, sometimes they do it a little bit too much for my liking, but when they turn that switch on, you see a totally different style on both sides of the floor, because I know we're worried about the defense, and there are times where it's going to be ugly and it makes you want to throw up. But when they decide it's time, what are they doing? I'll tell you what they're doing. They're doing damage. And that's super, super Incredible. With that, we are opening up the phone lines right now. 856-442-9805. That is the phone number to hop on board if you would like to participate in the conversation. I'm just super stoked that this is the team we get to watch. You get a second half of a back-to-back. They play Miami now, and this was a great start to this little stretch. And there'd probably be a little bit more nerves for the people that overreact game by game. I discuss each game by game. I allow my emotions to do the talking game by game, but I don't lose sight of the bigger picture when we have these daily dialogues. And I think it's extremely important to note that there were going to be a bunch of individuals out there that saw this game play out if it was a loss and then insanely bring the criticism and act like the last 3 games were just a fluke, but yet this one game sample size was going to determine everything. I'm telling you, there's a group of people out there just waiting for that moment, yet the Sixers just prove them wrong. And there's going to be a time where they fail. And maybe tomorrow's the perfect setup for that to happen, considering you're going to Miami after playing this battle. But the Cavs threw you everything. You just saw them the other week, and you knew how much they wanted to come to this town and snag a victory, and they looked determined, and they looked so dialed in. But after that game really started to peel off into the second quarter and into that second half, obviously that third quarter was a big burst by the Sixers, putting up some points and then, changing their level of play on the other side as well. It's all she wrote. The 48-minute of play theory. Even though it's not really a theory, it's just called sports. But when you give them 48 minutes, by the end of it, the team that deserves to win wins more times than not. Okay, I'm sorry. I apologize. I did not open the phone lines when I said I would. So they are open now at 856-442-9805. I saw that a bunch of people were trying to call in. I actually had it off at the time. So now is a good time to hop in. I want to thank everybody who donated through the chat as we were discussing the first 25 minutes. We got Jose who donated $2. We needed a game like this to keep us in check. Well, it's been the same thing against the Knicks. It's not anything new. We saw that where the Knicks were battling with them, and then they just had to make more savvy plays. They had to make more veteran plays. They had to deliver more in the moment, and because they have players who are more ready to than some of these other teams and more ready to win in terms of the entire league, not just more than the Knicks or more than the Cleveland Cavaliers, who's a nice, fun squad, but there's a lot of ways to go. It goes way deeper than that when you peel back the layers. And your team right now, when you look at the entire landscape of the association, yeah, they can really close out and run sets that you weren't capable of running for years and years and years with Ben Simmons. Now, it's different. Not perfect. You see some frustration. You see guys get on Tobias Harris and get into his face when maybe some uncomfortable possessions occur because he's unwilling to shoot it. You see that he's doing too much at times and he gets his back to the basket and he dribbles 9, 10, 11, 12 times and it starts putting an upsetting feeling into your body structure, right? That's never good. So that'll happen. But ultimately, even with the bad, you have the pick and rolls. Now, they weren't as eye-popping to me tonight as maybe some beautiful ones that I'm extremely enjoying, unless maybe there was one or two that I missed when I was letting my dog out or whatnot. But just from a very fresh piece of conversation, it wasn't like the most exciting two-man game we saw from the Harden and Embiid era, and I love saying that as if it hasn't only been a handful of basketball games. But that's what makes this even more important to me, that they were Maxey was phenomenal. Harden was good. I'm not downplaying 25 and 11. It was good. But their standards are so damn high. It's like Certified Lover Boy for Drake. It's an okay album. It's a good album, actually. It's a good album. But Drake has the ability to give me mind-blowing music. Drake has the ability to give me something that I can't turn off for an entire summer. Certified Lover Boy was good. Harden today was good. I've seen him play basketball where I collapse in excitement. That's not something that we saw tonight, but it was enough. And that's why this team is so damn incredible, because you're just deep and you got a lot of guys that can just give you good ball. And that good ball is a collective unit with one guy doing this thing. You're going to win a lot of basketball games. That's for damn sure. With that, we'll go to the phones. Let's bring in our first caller of the night. Good evening. You are on Broads Media.
Bro,
Yo, what's going on,
Yes,
man? What's happening?
yes, yes. Yes. Maxey. Holy shit. Love this guy. When I'm just literally like you, I'm like falling off my couch going, like, where was this? How is this guy developed this quickly, this fast, or so well this quickly? It's unbelievable, man. And I'm actually liked in regular season for them to get down like this and fight back. Like this gives me confidence for them to go in the playoffs.
Absolutely. I mean, this is just the style of the NBA regular season, though. There's going to be games where they blow out their opponent. There's going to be games where they fall behind against the team they should win, and then their true talent overshadows the opponent, or I guess I should say overpowers the opponent, and then they show their mental toughness involved. And that's what you're seeing. You're seeing a team learning how to play with one another. We've seen special moments, we've seen moments, and we've seen just average moments. And this team, they end up getting beat a little bit early on, and then they say, okay, let's turn it on. Let's go. Let's put our foot on the gas. And when they do that, you can see their highest level of play. And thank you so much for the call. That other teams struggle to really bang with the best of them. And they have a really tough time of defending a lot of these players. They still continue to feed at the free throw line. And when you are a James Harden and you target their upper body and put them in an uncomfortable position on their heels, they are forced to foul. And now he's getting to the line, snagging some points that way and slowing the game down as a whole. It's just a magnificent veteran way of playing the game. And with Maxey, there is something here that I have to definitely note, and that's the fact that Doc Rivers has played a big role in the growth of a lot of these players. We're going to have a lot of controversy about Doc Rivers when it comes to his rotations, and we're not going to love a lot about some of the guys he decides to play. And actually, post-game, he mentioned Danny Green, Shake Milton, Furkan, and Isaiah Joe. He's going to need a couple of those guys to step up and, a couple of them in a game, make their buckets and score some points, and that could be enough for their bench to get a bit of a spark and some ride. That was the best Shake Milton we've seen. George Niang, obviously, is playing some high-quality basketball. And I think a lot of that happens to be with, oh, yeah, that's right. When you go to your bench now, there's a star on the floor with your team. And by the way, that guy runs the floor from the top of the perimeter, and this is the style of basketball that you get when that's the case. So that, too, as a tandem, is really figuring it out. And when it's smooth, it's electric for sure. But I love the fact that Doc Rivers here is playing a massive head coach / father figure, like all these things. He's the young son. He's got his big brothers, Joel Embiid. If we're going to use that comparison, that means Doc Rivers is the father-like figure that just puts him under his wing. Him and Sam Cassell. There's so much knowledge of these veteran guys who have been around the league before in many different circumstances, of course, on the bench, on the floor, in real action, obviously, throughout their playing careers. And I think that Maxey has taken that and really brought it in for a ride. But I don't want to lose sight of that at all, because we get on Doc Rivers a bunch, as we should. It's not like he gets a free pass, but same with Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid, there's a combination of reasons why now is the time for him to go into let's go win a championship mode. And there was a coaching change for sure. There was also a mentality switch and learning curves for him over the years. But Doc Rivers and establishing Joel Embiid's dominance was also a big part of that. There was a culture shift that happened within the Sixers organization, and that was committing to Joel, because before it was whose team was it? And whether you said it was Embiid or you said it was Ben Simmons, it doesn't even matter if you were correct by saying it was Joel's. The point is, we even had to ask that question to begin with. And once you need to ask, that's when you know that something's off and something's not perfect. And of course, Daryl Morey made the decisions that he made, and Doc Rivers too. And, collectively they realized this is the change that we have to make from our philosophy. And since they've done that, we're seeing this team flourish, and it is outstanding. With that, let's go to Kyle in Connecticut on the Anytime Hotline. Good evening, Kyle.
Yo, what's up, bro?
I'm feeling great, man. That was a lot of fun tonight to see the building rise the way that it did after George Niang shot. There was that one guy who was holding a beer, fist pumping and like waving his fist. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, I saw that tweet. Yeah, no, that was a great win. Usually it feels like we've always been on the other side of that kind of comeback where we're up 21 and then we end up blowing that. So it's nice to be on the other side of that. But a really great performance from Maxey. I mean, he just seems to get better and better by the day ever since we got Harden. And Niang had a great night. And I keep having to remind myself, he's the replacement to freaking Mike Scott.
You're absolutely
Lord.
right. It's funny because when I went to the game against the Knicks, and I went with like a group of people, and one of them had a Mike Scott jersey on. I go, Mike Scott? You wore a Mike Scott jersey? And I totally forgot about him, and he's been so out of sight, out of mind. The fact that now you're bringing him up as well, it's just funny. But yeah, you replaced Seth Curry with James Harden, and you replaced Mike Scott with a George Niang, who is electric right now, really smooth. And look at the difference. I mean, it's night and day.
Yeah. Really happy with that. Really great that we battled back, which is awesome to see. Really tough stretch coming up with Miami tomorrow night, Chicago on Monday, Brooklyn on Thursday. But, this will be a great test, and we have a real opportunity to shut up some of the talking heads there throughout the media, which would be a great opportunity for us.
It would be, and thanks so much, Kyle. It's a great call. I can't stand the national media right now, but I'm not even going to let my emotions go off on it. I don't think it's really worth my time because they have an agenda, and it's almost like playing right into their hand that they're trying to, really show the public, and they want that. They want that bite back. They want that fire, and they know what type of market they're targeting, and it's really irrelevant because if you see basketball, and some of these people I feel are more intelligent than what they're leading on, it's so damn obvious. I mean, Stephen A. Smith is saying that this could be the worst move, or I don't even know if he said it could be. I think he straight up said this is, as if he straight up said, yes, this is. We'll verify and definitely double check exactly the wording and the phrasing of it, but the worst Daryl Morey could do with this type of situation, because the Brooklyn Nets, you filled all their holes. How about the fact that the 76ers filled a huge hole on their roster, which was a primary ball handler? They didn't even have one. You could see the difference of Maxey playing this and Maxey playing primary ball handler. When you have to now get everybody else going and focus on, okay, let me keep my dribble alive and let me come around the screen and let me see if I can find Tobias, or let me see if I can get Korkmaz going, or, definitely Joel. He gets upset when we can't put the ball in the post for him to go work down low. So let me do that. When he's focused on all of those angles, it takes away from what we're seeing right now. This is more of his natural play. He can give you that combo. He can put the ball in his hands when he needs to. And if it's a possession that ends up happening where there's a switch involved or there's a good look for him, he's definitely going to do it, even if he does become the ball handler during that type of sequence. But just from an overall perspective, when the game just comes natural to him and within his flow, and he doesn't have to worry so much and stress, I need everybody else involved, it's magnificent. So you just left out the fact that the Sixers filled that void and downplaying what that means for a Joel Embiid two-man game and the rest of the entire team. The bench looks different when someone's running the floor the way James Harden does. The bench is completely different. Shake Milton got going. I wonder if we're going to see a little bit more buzz out of him, a little more pop out of him, a little more spring in his step, just based off the fact that it's a different element. Instead of, hey, Shake, go run the offense. And by the way, when you're doing it, run it with 4 bench guys too. What did we ever expect to happen? Now, granted, he's been banged up and he's been very hurt. I'm just laying out the differences and how it can totally change the identity of what your team is and what you're capable of running as an entire offense. All right, we're continuing to hear from you. Here we go. Back to the phones. Good evening. Hello.
Hello?
Hello. No, I think we are off on there. Can I check the text messages? Yes, I can. I can check the text messages. Sorry. Hey, bros, just want to say what's up. Been a huge fan and say that this team looks really all around good. And we've been coming back lately instead of letting comebacks. That's the second person, and I'll bring that up. Niang has been nice, and so has Shake. Love this team and got to see my first game of the James Harden era. Wow, that's magnificent. Congratulations, man, because that's definitely exciting for sure to see this guy play live. When I went against the Knicks, first off, the building was so damn loud. My ears were ringing, and they were in some serious pain when Matt Cord announced him for the first time coming out of that locker room from Arizona State. My ears were buzzing for the next 3 hours when I was driving over the Walt Whitman Bridge to try and get myself back home afterwards. I want to try and go back to the phones here, though, because we did have a caller try and call in, and we got a little disconnection here. We'll try once more.
Bros, what's up, man? Long time subscriber, man. Watch you for a minute. Oh my God. This is my first time calling. Tyrese Maxey, my God. When I tell you I yelled at the end of these games, man, just watching this kid, just pure heart and grit, just hustle. Oh my God, man, just carry the team. It's great to see, man. Go Sixers.
Well, thank you so much for the kind words. And then, of course, you're absolutely correct with your assessment here while watching this kid fly and take over basketball games. It takes time to learn, and this is still all part of the learning experience for the young one. I don't know what I want to call him, the young one. I keep calling him kid. I mean, it's just a big ball of energy is what he is. He's the little brother for sure, but it takes so much time to learn how to win in this league, and it takes a lot of losing, and it takes a lot of bad shots, and it takes a lot of good shots. But it's obvious there's a handful of things that matter so much to even turn into one of these guys that are in the league. One, you got to have the testicles, and he absolutely has the ball sack to take these shots when it matters and to say, it's my time. I want the rock. I don't care who you are. It's on me. He's just so confident. So he's got the balls. He's so confident. And then, of course, he's not afraid. He's not afraid of missing. If he misses, if he takes it to the rack and has a floater that's a little long or there's body contact, I've seen a handful of times now where, because he still needs to learn the drawing the fouls. It's not perfect yet, and there's still even another element to it. Sometimes he goes up and it's just out of whack and there's no body control and he's just soaring as fast as possible. And yeah, he'll bring on contact and he's not afraid to bang a body down low, but sometimes it's just in a way that's unorthodox, maybe I would explain it, and he doesn't get the contact that he's looking for in terms of there's a lot of contact there, but he doesn't get the foul call and go to the line. But guess what? He'll get the ball, and then the next possession he'll try it again, or the ball will become loose. He'll go grab it. He'll turn, he'll pivot, and then he'll attack the rim once more 5 seconds after what the sequence just played out. And it's more about the fearless, a horrendous way to explain fearlessness. That was probably the worst way I could ever try and put it into words. So I apologize. But if you followed me, hopefully you can. There's no way you did if you're stoned or if you had a couple cold ones. You packed a fat bowl of Victory Bowl afterwards. There's a 0% chance you followed my storyline. But I digress. If you did, it doesn't matter about what happened previously. It's about what's next. It's about the next possession. It's about the next shot. And that's what you need. If you don't have that, that's step one. It's a 5-step process to become a stud, a star. Right now, he's just continuing to build off of the beginning stages, if not taking a huge leap. You know how some people, when they walk up steps, they skip one? Now, I don't understand that. That's not my style. I actually utilize every step because I don't want to pull a hammy, and I'm turning 27 years old and my body hurts when I lean down in between the crack where my cell phone falls when I'm driving and I have to pick my phone up and try and grab it. I pull muscles and I need like a 15 to 20 minute rollout session on my damn shoulder blades. I don't even know where I'm going with that. I don't even remember what my thought was. I don't know. Hopefully. Oh, okay. Never mind. Hung up. People are calling. People are hanging up. I want to hear from you. So let's go. No reason to hang up. I'm getting to you. If you get on and you hear me speaking through the phone, that means you're on. I'll get to you, though, because I see people hang up a little prematurely because they hear me speaking and don't realize that there is a element of waiting for me to get to you. Here you go. We'll go to Nolan in Hilltown, PA. What's up, Nolan?
Hey, what's going on, bros? How's it going?
It's going great. It's really hard to feel sour about anything Sixers basketball related. That's for damn sure.
Dude, I know, man. Tyrese Maxey with 33 points tonight. Man, this kid continues to amaze me every night, dude. I can't help but think that this trio of Harden, Embiid, and Maxey is the best big three in the NBA. Would you agree?
Oh, no doubt about it. It's up there. I mean, whether you want to say because the Bucks have done it before and they have a combination of Giannis, Middleton, but, you know, you're right in terms of individual skill that, yeah, I look at this team and I say, yeah, no doubt about it. But they've accomplished it and they've lifted that Larry O'Brien trophy. So, you know, I don't want to downplay what the ability of the Milwaukee Bucks is. And, yeah, but if you think of a three-headed monster, it's become more of a duo league. Before, with Miami and Boston, there have been plenty of teams that lived off of a three-headed monster. But so far, it's kind of broken up, and now it's Steph Curry and, well, really Steph Curry. Clay is still coming back from his injuries and whatnot, but Devin Booker and Chris Paul, and there's other pieces like Mikal Bridges and DeAndre Ayton, but it's more of a two-man show nowadays. The fact that you got this three-headed look, it's a scary sight if you're on the other side.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I am loving this squad right now, man. This is such an amazing team to watch. Really looking forward to seeing they got a really tough test ahead of them with Miami tomorrow and Chicago coming up. Hopefully they can keep pushing the throttle and getting the job done.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Nolan. And yeah, this is a very difficult span for them, and it is what it is. If they lose tomorrow night, I'm not going to kill them for it and say that they're a disaster and get all pissed off and start screaming to this wild level that now I just change everything about the way that I feel. Absolutely not. It's a really tough task, right? You got 3 games. You got a handful of games or a handful of days to play those 3 games, and you're playing really good opponents. There's a reason why the NBA playoffs normally don't have back-to-backs in their scheduling. So it's sort of hard to judge what exactly that means. If they win, it tells me a lot because it's even more adversity. It's even tougher. If you lose, though, I'm not going to go to an extreme. And to be fair, I'm not going to go on a monster extreme either if they win. I already have their ceiling set. I already know what they're capable of at their max capacity. There's no higher. So even if they win good games on the road in the regular season with the remaining schedule, okay. I already look at them as an NBA contender. I already look at them as a team that can compete for a championship and battle for the Eastern Conference. Vegas believes the same thing too, because when you look at the numbers and you look at the odds, it's all trending in the direction of the Philadelphia 76ers for a reason. And guess what? Vegas knows what they're doing. There's a reason why they put the numbers the way that they do. They win a lot of the times. So just note that. We got $10 flying in the chat from Edgar. You think Embiid is getting frustrated because he may be realizing that he might have to take a step down? No, not at all. I don't think that Joel Embiid's mad at all. I think he gets in the moment of the game that there's some irritation. But you saw the frustration come when the guys couldn't give him a bounce pass into the post or just a pass into the post in general. I'm not even just making it a bounce pass. I'm just saying in general, getting the pass in the post. He's a competitor. And he's an elite competitor. The tiniest things will aggravate him. The little tiniest parts of the action will get under his skin. Because when you are wired to the level of a Joel Embiid and a James Harden and a Kobe and a Shaq and a Michael Jordan and a LeBron James, you're a perfectionist. And the tiniest little details will crawl into your skin and make you stay up at night. No, I think just within a possession, he wants more. He holds his team to a high standard. So when it's not clicking the way that he thinks it should or the way that he anticipates, he lets it show. But he let it show before James Harden. This isn't anything new. That's all. Yeah, it's Joel Embiid and James Harden playing together for their first 4 games. Are there uncomfortable possessions where you see something in Joel Embiid's face? Maybe. Is he so bothered and so aggravated that it's now this monster story? Absolutely not. I don't think that it changes his MVP campaign at all. This is a basketball game or two where he's putting up high 20s instead of 35, instead of 36. Think about what we're saying. Yeah, he's being is now 27 points, 28 points, 26 points, handful of rebounds. I don't think it's anything other than a couple of games where it's a couple of games of them just still learning how to play with one another. And they've had some really great possessions, some really great sets, and some things that will be unstoppable in the postseason. A pick and pop, a pick and roll, and everything else combined. Whether it's a pick and roll and the ball then flies out to the three-point line. That's my favorite. Full speed Embiid downhill, gets the basketball in rhythm, could go up with it, could slam on a defender, but here comes a help defender, leaves someone wide open on the wing, and it's George Niang or Danny Green or anybody else, Tyrese Maxey, who just has a huge C wide open, just spreading. The C is just spreading down the middle. He could even dribble drive and penetrate if he wanted to and hit one of his floaters. But instead, because he's now a 3-point specialist, apparently. He drills 5 threes. In what universe? I don't know. I don't know. Back to the phones we go. Hello. You're on Broads Media.
Hey, bro. Yeah, appreciate you for having me on, man. I just want to say I'm glad that you're acknowledging our ceiling, man. I think it's a lot of inside the box thinkers out there, like as far as Sixers fans. And what I mean by inside the box is they're just like judging these games game by game. Oh, can we get a win? If we lose, oh man, no, this isn't gonna work in the playoffs. You listen, you gotta think these are our first 5 games. We're adding in players going against pro teams at the highest level with set systems, set chemistries together. These are our first 5 games, and we're finding ways to win against teams that are already built. I don't get the naysayers that are saying all this stuff. I don't care if we beat the Rockets. I don't care if we beat I don't care who it is. We're beating NBA pro teams, finding ways to win at the highest level, coming back from adversity. This is all the habits that build playoff tendencies. These are the things that you need to win playoff games. A lot of people are talking about the competition. It's not the competition. It's the scenarios that we're getting in, fighting back from 20-point deficits and whatnot. These are all things that build championship rosters, and we're on the right direction.
Absolutely. You know why I feel people go down that road? Because it's easier to be right then. And it's hard to say, I'm going to lay my heart on the table because one team wins. One team takes it home and all the rest watch. And then you're definitely emotional if you get close, but don't ultimately reach that final destination that you're looking for. So I think it's a fear of commitment and unwilling to say I'm all in with my heart because heartbreak is painful. And I think it's almost like a defensive mechanism. Look, saying that they're in the mix to win a title and they have real upper echelon type of talent to compete isn't saying that it's an automatic that they win. But if you analyze the entire league, it's pretty safe to say that they have just as much talent as the Suns, as the Bucks, as all these other teams that are trying to make a championship run. They're right there with everybody else, and that's all you can ask for. So don't be afraid of that moment, and I think that there are some out there that are.
I definitely agree with you, and I encourage people to definitely be in the moment. I've been a Harden fan, so I was cheering for the Sixers last year. I got my heart completely torn. I felt like we had a championship in our hands with the big three. The way that I seen it, Harden was going to get his first ring. I was torn. But what I realized, especially for Harden, I've been watching him forever. This is the most determined that he's ever been. A lot of people may have not even watched the Nets series last year. He was so determined that he went back to play on a grade 2 hamstring strain just to try to win. That's how bad he wanted it, but his body just wasn't there.
And now it is, though, man. I agree. And thank you so much for the call. I think that you're absolutely right, though, with James Harden, where he's been around some good players. And that's what everyone likes to bring up who bashes James Harden. Well, he played with Chris Paul before. Okay, yeah, and Chris Paul had some lingering stuff. Well, he played with Kevin Durant. Yep, you're absolutely right. Well, he was with the Rockets, and they got close, and he had a bad game. Yeah, you're right. There were times where he wasn't the sharpest version of James Harden. But first off, that doesn't really relate to playing with Joel Embiid. It's a different type of beast. Joel Embiid is at the MVP top of the league. That's where he's at right now. He's playing at an insane rate. And the fact that he's playing with a big man, no Clint Capella, who James Harden ended up getting paid, may I add. No Robert Covington at the 5. Play with Joel Hans Embiid with a real center and a center that's taken over this entire league. That's different. That's not the same. It's a totally different perspective. It's a totally different concept. It's a totally different run. I'm not saying you can't take stats and can't take production out of previous playoff performances. Of course you can. I take a lot of my data and a lot of my information from years past with certain players, and then I ask, what changed? I do that with Maxey. And with Maxey, I'm stunned. I almost don't know what to say anymore about him. Do you want me to talk about his threes? I do that every night. You want me to talk about his free throw attempts? I do that every night. You want me to talk about his confidence? I do that every night. You want me to talk about his passing and his speed? I do that every night. Right? I mean, every single night, that's basically what we emphasize because it's so mesmerizing. And let's give credit where credit is due. There's a reason why we are this excited because it's not normal for the pace of growth to be this rapid. And there seems to be this smell of, whoa, do we even know yet? And I almost feel, as much as I brought this up earlier, Tyrese Maxey, I don't even know if he's fully aware yet of the ceiling. And he does, but he doesn't, right? Like, I'm being obviously respectful of how great he is, and he obviously looks in the mirror and goes, I'm that guy. I don't want to pretend like he doesn't. He absolutely does. But he's so young and he's so raw. Whew, there's even more that he doesn't even know about yet that's untapped. And I almost feel that I'm just as raw, and us as a fan base is just as raw too, to even fully digest, wait a second, because we're living in the moment and we're appreciating this playoff run. But if you remove the 2022 goggles of how far this team could go, and you just remove Tyrese Maxey, put him under a spotlight like the Pixar lamp, imagine the Pixar lamp jumping through the screen and then end up flashing, bang, lands on a Tyrese Maxey, and then just study him for a moment. Think of the big picture of Tyrese Maxey. Are we talking one of those stars? Not just an all-star. There's plenty of just all-stars. Can he be one of those? Obviously, I'm being extremely optimistic and pumped up as a Sixers fan. But if I remove my emotions away from it, I still think the answer could be yes based off of what he showed me. I'm not saying it's a definite yes, but I'm saying if I think about what I've seen to this point, it's not a hot Furkan Korkmaz run. There's a legitimate game to this kid. And apparently, the other night, John Calipari was there, and he was watching from the bench, from the court. And apparently, Julius Randle walked over to coach and said to him during one of the breaks, this kid's fucking good. And he's ours. That's the best part about it. He's ours. And I was thinking when he was at the free throw line, and Aiden, we will get to you in just one moment. Thank you so much for holding on. But I was thinking about, imagine being 20, 21, 22 years old, having this type of motor, excelling at this type of rate, playing basketball in Philadelphia, where the fan base is 1 billion times on your side and you love them. Right? There's so many athletes in this city. Jason Kelsey. Now it's Tyrese Maxey, Joel Embiid. Those type of athletes, Lane Johnson, that are just set in stone and they're one of us and the relationship is unbelievable. There's got to be nothing better than that style of relationship when you're here in Philly. While the alternative is Furkan Korkmaz getting booed off the floor the other night when they played the Knicks. And when Tobias Harris misses a wide open look and you hear the disgruntled fans. That's got to be a little bit more annoying and a little harder to work through when some adversity that hits. But it is what it is. If you shot the basketball better, you wouldn't be in that predicament. That's something that you can change as a personal player. You hold the cards. You could play the hand that you want to play. It just comes down to yourself. But imagine being a Maxey, where you could basically do no wrong. If Embiid has a costly turnover, he just acknowledges it after the game and then makes sure it doesn't happen again, or limits the amount of times you turn the ball over, because you're a human being and everybody turns the ball over at some point. But the game's on the line and Maxey has a bad possession. He's not going to get grilled to the point of we're kicking this guy out of town and screaming bloody murder about it. Absolutely not. What's it like being one of those athletes? It's just got to be amazing. All right, Aiden, thanks so much for holding on, man. You're on with Broads Media. What's happening?
Yo, bros, I was at the game, man. That atmosphere was insane. That was crazy.
Yeah, I could imagine.
Right.
The shot they had on the broadcast when Niang made the 1-3, and I think that was the one that gave them the lead for the first time in a while, or maybe they had the lead and it added a little bit of a extra little jolt there. I forget exactly the situation, but they panned out, and they could almost look at the view of the crowd like a panorama kind of thing, and holy hell was that place literally screaming through my TV screen.
Oh, yeah. I have a question. I want to hear your thoughts. So, like, I don't know if Thibault was dreaming about birthday cakes today or what on his birthday, but, like, Niang just dropped 17 off the bench, played more minutes than Thibault. Do you think Doc should start Niang over Thibault? I don't want to, like, over-exaggerate in one game, but I just want to hear your thoughts on it.
Yeah, so I was actually thinking about what might come my way when you see a game like this, and after witnessing what Niang did against Milwaukee, I just assumed that maybe we were somewhat inching towards this direction. And here's what I'll say, and I've been pretty consistent on this about the starting five. That 3 position, and it's a positionless game these days, but the combination of Niang, Green, and Matisse Thybulle are just going to be interchangeable based off of each night. So what I would do is I'd probably continue to play right now Matisse Thybulle at the 3. But you have a super quick leash. He might only give you 12 minutes, but he might give you 34. He might give you 22, but he might give you 17. You just honestly have no idea, and that's hard to rely on, obviously. But when he is on, he's game-changing defensively. There are nights where it's abysmal and atrocious, like tonight, and that's when you only get to play 17, 16, 15, whatever it is on that given night, and then you play Niang more. I don't know if I would go to the full length right now to start Niang. I think he's comfortable playing with James Harden off the bench. And when you kind of get that role and you get into that sort of lifestyle, I think that's very important. And let's keep that up where you can keep the rotation the way it is right now and still play Niang a lot of minutes like you saw tonight. So I'd keep it the same.
Yeah, and one last thing. I found it very interesting, Doc Rivers' reluctance to play Paul Millsap, like, in that second half. Like, he only played 8 minutes the whole game. Like, is he just not going to play at all when DeAndre Jordan comes in? It's going to be very interesting to see.
Yeah, probably, Aiden, and thanks so much. I'd imagine the Paul Millsap experience was what it was, and they got the answers that they were looking for, and they're going to go in the direction of DeAndre Jordan. With DeAndre, I don't have the biggest hype in the world about what he provides. He's better than Millsap. I think he's better than Millsap, and he's probably better than some inexperienced players that you see in a Bassey and a Reed, although you never really know because I think they are a little bit spry out there. They have some jump in their game, but at the same time, I'd rather go with someone who's been around the block, has some experience if we're asking for 10 minutes of run, 12 minutes of run or so. So, you know, I'm okay with DeAndre Jordan. My expectations are just not through the roof. Like it seems there are some people that feel he might give you a little bit more than I anticipate. But we'll see what happens. You know, maybe there's a new sort of life that happens when you realize the situation you're in and you see that, hold on a second, these are the type of competitors that could bring me a championship. Let's see if I can rise to the occasion or raise my bar a bit. We'll see. Although my expectations are not very high. I think that you're going to see DeAndre Jordan come in here and give you better than anything Millsap could have. And maybe not, definitely not as much as Drummond gave you at spurts, but that is what it is. And that's the price that you pay when you make a deal the way that you do. And Daryl Morey has done so much. Al Horford, Josh Richardson, see you later. Then there were reports earlier this year about the hostility involved in Boston with Josh Richardson, and it just wasn't a great fit. And Daryl Morey pulled all these moves out and then landed James frickin' Harden. That's why I couldn't believe it, that there was the outrage that was at the time of the trade. You got James Harden. Well, just wait for him to not be happy. Stop it. Do you see this? This is the team that can win a championship. I'm not saying they are going to win a championship. They're a team that can win a championship. James Harden is just as hungry as Joel Embiid, and they're a great fit. Great fit. This is the best you've seen James Harden paired up with, and he's been paired up with phenomenal players. But in terms of how they could be cohesive together, this makes the most sense. Just wait. We're 4 games in. And by the way, they're 4-0. Okay? And it hasn't even been great. They just played a really good Cavs team. They weren't even that great, but they found a way to win. Against the Knicks. Come on now. They're down. They're down bad. They battle back in the second half. So when they're not even really clicking, doesn't seem to stop them. Now, I don't like the fact that they get down 20, but just the fact that they can come back from any of these teams down, it's because they have the firepower. It's because they can actually run an offense. They couldn't run an offense in previous years. Tyrese Maxey since the Harden trade. This is courtesy of StatMuse. Okay, 26.8 points per game. So basically 27 points per game, 65% from the field, 70% from 3 on 5 attempts. That is outrageous. You know why that's happening from the 3-point line? Because there's actually room. Crazy concept, crazy belief. There's room where you have to choose what to do when you are playing defense. And you would imagine that you're worried about Joel Embiid dominating your ass. That James Harden is going to hit a step back or drive right into your chest to put him on the line for some easy points. 11 dimes. Go look at his game log since he's been here. 11 dimes. The guy just gets his teammates great looks over and over and over and over again. He's a ball hog. All he does is shoot threes. He's not worried about anyone else but himself. He's stubborn. He's a bad player. He's bad for the locker room. The list goes on everything that I heard. You don't just fall into averaging the second most assists in the entire NBA prior to the trade. There's a reason why Maxey's flourishing this way. And it all stems from the threat that James Harden is. Back to the phones we go. You are on with Broads.
What's good, bros? How you feeling, man?
I'm doing really well. How are you tonight?
Man, after watching that game, I love this team, man. You know, the Cavaliers, you gotta give their credit, man. They're a team that I think surprised everyone in the league by how they're doing. But I just gotta ask you, after this game, what do you think the game plan should be against Miami tomorrow? Because a back-to-back game, especially against the team of Miami, there's a lot of challenges coming in, man.
There definitely are a lot of challenges, and it's a good test to see what this team is. Not that it's going to change my opinion that much, because as I alluded to already, that I feel this team is absolutely 1,000% ready to hang with the best teams in the entire league, with or without a win on a second half of a back-to-back in Miami. But what do they need to do? Well, I thought they shot the ball. They were scoring points in the early phases of the game. It wasn't as if they weren't scoring points. So to answer your question, if they just start out better defensively and they actually have that determination to defend on the defensive side, you know, that's step one, because I do feel that there's a difference in terms of professionalism from an Eric Spoelstra-led team compared to this nice team in Cleveland. And if you give a Miami Heat a 20-something point lead at home, I don't anticipate them blowing it the same way that we saw tonight.
Oh, of course, you know, you do that, you know, you can definitely stop it. But I'm saying, like, how do you think they should do their game plan of stopping players like Tyler Herro, Duncan Robinson, Jimmy Butler from just getting wide open shots, when you have players like Embiid who has to cover, you know, out of the bayou, and you got players like, you know, the role players being great.
Yeah, and thanks for the call. I mean, I don't think much changes, right? I mean, let's be realistic. When it comes to the NBA regular season, while you throw different looks at certain players or whatnot, the game planning and the strategy from team to team, you're not putting in 50 hours a night, especially on the second half of a back-to-back. Just play your game. They're just going to play their game and run what they like to run. And from there, Jimmy Butler's going to score points. There's a reason why he's Jimmy Butler. Bam's going to get some points. Kyle Lowry, these players, Tyler Hero will get some open looks. I mean, you don't stop all these players from performing. You just limit them from what they're going to do. But in terms of, you know, matchup basis and that, you know, this isn't game 6 or game 7 or game 5 of an NBA playoff series where you go toe for toe, tick for tack, and you end up trying to manipulate something. That's not what it's all about right now. You play your game and you try and get comfortable with yourself, because you guys are so new with playing together that's more of the focus, more so than, you know, putting 9,000% into exactly what the other team is trying to do. In the NBA regular season, you sort of play your game. And then from there, you kind of see how it plays out. And I would imagine that when they play their game tomorrow, that they'll be in a battle for sure, but a tired battle, because it's a tough task. But the last time they did this, they did well. It was Boston, and then it was Miami, and we were enamored, and we were stoked, as we should be. And I'm trying to see if there's some quotes from Joel Embiid or anything. Let's see here. Rich Hoffman of The Athletic tweeted some things out. Sixers win their 5th straight, beat the Cavs despite waking up about midway through the second quarter. They are 39-23 and currently number 2 in the East. Fun game, 33 points on 15 shots for Maxey. Harden took way too long to get Embiid the ball, posting the zone there on 3 straight possessions. Need to trust his teammates a bit more. Can see the learning curve still there. That was during the game itself. I was looking to see if I saw any tweets from the play. Did I just say any queefs? Did I do that? Did I combine quotes and tweets and say queets, but then I just said queefs? Today we're off the rails, but that's what happens when your team's a good basketball team. I just searched the same thing twice in a row. They know I'm losing my mind. I got to be up early in the morning. Make sure you tune into The Fanatic tomorrow morning, Saturday morning, 9 a.m. to noon. Tyrone Johnson and myself will have you for 3 hours breaking down this puppy and talking more about the Sixers. Tyrese Maxey said his dad coached Shake Milton at SMU, and that's where they first met. Said SMU is truly Shake Milton University. How about Tyrese Maxey just being a great guy? Just a great guy. Tyrese Maxey said he didn't pick up a basketball after the Rising Stars Challenge, said that rest was really important, and the head athletic trainer, Kevin Johnson, was on him to take some time off. I love that. First off, this dude is just a warrior. He constantly wants to put in work, and he wants to nonstop be in the gym to continue to work on his craft, while the previous point guard here, even though now James Harden's the real point guard, but a previous guard in this city would want the complete opposite, to the point where he's not even capable of playing. That's just been lost in the sauce, and as it should, because I don't want to waste too much time on it. But, he won't play for another couple of weeks. He's week to week. He won't play in March. I thought you were preparing your body and ramping yourself up back to play. No, you weren't. You weren't even dedicated at all. You put 0 time and effort in because you had a master plan to try and get out of town early in the season, and it lingered so damn long that you're all out of whack, Ben, and you're nowhere even close to being back on the floor. It's pretty wild to see it play out the way that it did. While Tyrese Maxey's so hungry, he has to be forced off the floor. But that's also part of this learning experience of Tyrese Maxey understanding the difference of, this professional lifestyle and 82 games, and you're on the road. First off, that's a ton of games compared to what you play in college. On top of that, you're playing a way more intense minute level too. You're now a starter instead of being a bench player like you were last year, just giving this team a little bit of spurt here and there. Now you're logging 30 plus. You're a high volume type of shooter. You're part of a 3-headed team that we're looking at as a championship caliber type of run. I mean, everything has now been magnified and multiplied by 8 billion for Tyrese Maxey. And like that little information, I know that sounds silly, bro. You're going to waste your time talking about how an athletic trainer told him to cool down, and he did. Yeah, but it's so damn important. Look at Joel Embiid taking care of his body now compared to in years past, whether it's nutrition, whether it's proper stretching, whether it's just getting your body ramped up for the season throughout a proper training type of, what's the word I'm looking for? Schedule, like a training schedule, a training program. It's so damn important. There's a reason why LeBron's still giving you 30 points a night at his age, even though the Lakers are a mess. George Wagner with $5. This is the most enjoyment I've gotten from the Sixers since the Jimmy Butler year. This is more than that, George. This is more than that. This is more than that. Even though we all believed that they could play that year, and they could have. They were one bounce away from going to the Eastern Conference Finals. So they were not far off by any means. And once you're in the Eastern Conference Finals, they weren't like an Atlanta Hawks last year where you just knew that they had no chance, and you just saw them as a team that was a walking miracle that got a very lucky situation, which was Ben Simmons afraid to play the sport. That needed to happen for the Atlanta Hawks to win. Even if Ben Simmons was just bad. He was the worst basketball player to ever live in the history of basketball. If he was just bad, the Sixers still win that series. So that's what it took for Atlanta. And the Sixers that year were not at that portion. This is definitely better, though. Way better. All right, let's bring on our next guest. Hey, how are you? Welcome.
Hey, how you doing, bros?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Doing pretty good. You just stole my point, but
I
I'm cool with
apologize.
that. I was calling in to say that I can't believe the stark contrast between the other guy that we had, Ben Simmons, and Tyrese Maxey. You know what I mean? Like, Ben Simmons wants to run from the moment, wants to run from the game. Tyrese Maxey, you can tell he just wants it. He wants it so bad. It's amazing.
Yeah, how about when he dribbles the ball up the floor, or let's say James Harden pretends he's going to do a step back because he likes to get some assists off the fake step back where he pumps fakes and then he kicks it to the side, or however Tyrese Maxey gets the ball around the elbow part of the three-point line. When he just takes it all in one motion, I'm sure all of us feel the same exact way, which is, this is going in. No way. This kid is unreal. This is going in. And the fact that we feel that confident, and let's use Matisse Thybulle as the other example. When he shoots wide open in the corner, I go, damn it, get back on day, everyone, because that's going to be a clank off the iron. This Maxey kid's got balls.
Oh, yeah. And he has just you can just feel the joy for the game that he has. You know what I mean? Like, he just wants it so bad. And Ben Simmons, I never felt that. You know what I mean? Like, just a stone-faced guy out there. You know, sometimes he'd display a little emotion, but Maxey's just smiling the whole game.
Yeah,
the whole game.
Ben doesn't love the game like Maxey loves the game. Ben Simmons puts in work, if you will, but he doesn't put in the right work, and he doesn't have the right approach when he does it. And, you know, this Maxey kid is all about, I feel it's so damn important. And thank you so much for taking the time to call in tonight. I greatly appreciate it. Tyrese Maxey, when you learn from a James Harden, and it's been a very short amount of time, but I already feel the impact is extremely massive, and Joel Embiid, and this is the type of, it's different from your trainer. It's different from your offseason trainer, that is, or your head coach. It's a star-driven league. It's a player-driven league. And when you get to spend time every single day on and off the floor with these greats, James Harden is going to be one of the best three-point shooters in the history of the league that we've ever seen. Now, Steph is an alien, and it seems like even Reggie Miller or James Harden can't even sniff Steph Curry. He's so far to the extreme that are we even appreciating James Harden's ability as much as we should? I don't know. And that's not a knock on James Harden. That's just appreciating greatness, possibly the best shooter we'll ever see in our entire lives. And when our grandkids say, oh, yeah, but what about Bobby Smith? We go, no. No, young one. You've never seen Steph Curry in his prime. We're going to be those old heads that shut down all these new era of players that we won't believe or at least admit that they're in the same category as some of the players that we talk about right now as we were growing up. But James Harden's a Hall of Fame lock. James Harden's one of the best 75 players to touch the floor, to lace up the shoes. And here's a young Maxey who just wants every detail ever right in front of him. And this is what he gets to see. There's a difference. And it's not like you're in a bad position if you're Garland. But I like thinking about Garland right now. Because here's Garland playing for Cleveland. Sure, Kevin Love won a championship. And it looked like he was back to that time when he was cashing in threes that were so damn deep in that first frame. You have a Love. You have a team that's winning games. That's cool. And Garland's going to be nice. But imagine if Garland got to play with an Embiid. Got to play with a James Harden. It takes you to that next tier. It takes you to that next jump. And that's just luck-based, really, more than anything else. It's just, where do you end up? And what roster are you on? And the fact that you needed Mike Muscala and the COVID situation to play out to cancel March Madness, 0% chance Tyrese Maxey is a 76er if that was not the case, if it didn't play out the way that it played out. Anytime hotline.
Wow, bro. It's what a win with the Sixers. They went by about 8 points. First, the Cleveland Cavaliers. It was a really bad start by the Sixers. The Cavs were basically making everything. I think they were 9 for 9 on the first 9 shots. And it looked like a disaster to start the game. With James Harden, he also had 3 personal fouls. That wasn't great. And Embiid and Harden did not have a good first half at all. But you had Tyrese Maxey go nuts in that second half. I think he had a total of 20. I could be wrong, but 20 points in that second half. He ended up with 33. He was phenomenal. And Embiid and Harden played way better in the second half than the first half. So very good win by the Sixers. They're now 4-0 in the Harden era. and they have a really tough game tomorrow versus the Heat in Miami.
Yes, on a back-to-back, it seemed like you were getting cut off there a little bit towards the end. But on a back-to-back, that's going to be some mental toughness. Not only mental toughness, but physical toughness too. It's not simple to play in this league when you have 1 day rest, when you have 2 days rest, let alone a schedule that's breaking off to the point where you're seeing a tough, hard-nosed Cleveland team and a really good Miami Heat team and a Chicago Bulls team and a Brooklyn Nets team. I'm juiced up for this little run for sure. And you brought up an excellent point, though, with the Harden fouls. You're going to be in scenarios where Harden isn't available and this guy picks up a foul that he shouldn't have. And, you're just in an uncomfortable position. And the fact, even through that level of adversity, you have enough. It's never going to be this step 1 to step 10 in a game. Nothing but butter. Nothing but great play after great play after great play. There'll be a 3-minute span in the second that sucks. There'll be a first quarter 5-minute run that'll be a little bit nauseating to witness. There'll be a third quarter 15-4 run by the opposition. It's a game of runs. It's an uncontrollable. It's always going to occur. But it's what are you majority of the time? If you're automatically, we can tie this to baseball seasons. 162. You're 60-60. That's 120 games. What do you do with the rest? That will tell you who you are. It's the same thing here over 48 minutes. I'm not the greatest here in math, but let's go with 20-20. You're going to have a good 20 minutes. You'll have a average 20 minutes. What do you do with the rest? And that will be the difference in the basketball game. That's just easy math for me. It's probably different numbers to utilize, but it's that mindset. It's that mentality that I feel is okay to utilize within a basketball game. You'll have X amount of great minutes, X amount of poor minutes. What do you do with the other? And that will tell you if you win or lose the game. And when you think about the moments where James Harden delivered, whether it was the sexiest thing in the world or not, it's the professionalism of running an offense. It's Embiid knocking down a few buckets there in the fourth quarter that, hey, that's what he does. Things are getting a little closer. Cleveland hits a 3. You had more of a lead, and now it dwindled down back to 2. Who's going to be your guy? And you have to battle through foul trouble, like the caller just alluded to. Harden picks up his third. And that was with what, about 8 minutes ago? I even wrote it down because I thought it was obviously an important thing to note. Harden foul trouble early, second quarter, picked up his third. There was about 8.5 minutes left or so. And keep in mind, I touched on this earlier too. Harden and Embiid, through the first 5 minutes, they had one shot together. That type of crap, it happens. How do you respond to it over the 48 minutes? And it is a common theme that they win basketball games. We got $5 coming in from Riaz. I apologize if I am not saying your name properly, but how do you see a potential first-round series against Cleveland? Love the show. Thank you so much. I mean, I think that this team is set up to win a first-round playoff series. The only thing that is a little crazy, and that's not to say they can't win, but let's say that Brooklyn ends up being in a scenario where they have to be in the play-in, and they end up eventually getting into a position where they see the 76ers in the first round. Could that be possible? And then you have to see a Kevin Durant in the first round, which is not something that you really think about. But in terms of Cleveland or something along those lines, they're too young. They're not a team that's ready to win yet. They'll be happy with the first round experience and they'll take a series to 5 or 6 games. It'll be similar to where the Sixers were a few years ago, where it was that season where they lost to Boston and Bellinelli hit a shot and you're just happy to be there. That was a step in the right direction. And we were thrilled and honored to have such a great regular season. And we knew we were going through that transformation. It was a transition season where this team then was getting to where they were supposed to, which was winning basketball consistently. And ever since then, we've been back into that position year in and year out. So that would be the stage that the Cleveland Cavaliers are, and the Sixers would steal their lunch money. The Cavs would be lucky to win 1 game. I could see that being a 5-game series, if not honestly a sweep, because the Sixers just have more ready-to-go win players now compared to the youth involved in who Cleveland is. But it's a nice season for them, and that's where they're at right now. There's nothing wrong with that. Every team eventually has that. It's a good step. It's a good step to put them through a projection that will eventually, in their eyes, result in, obviously, a more winning culture. But, yeah, I would say the Sixers would absolutely handle business pretty easily there. And thank you for the $5. Off to the Anytime Hotline. Yo, how are you?
How's it going, bros?
It's going well, man. How are you feeling?
Good. Garrett here calling from Lancaster County, PA. How about Tyrese Maxey tonight? That was awesome.
It really was. And every time I watch him play, there's something else. Every time. Every single game afterwards, I have my notepad and I write my notes and I always discuss things that stood out to me. It's this wild possession where he steps back, or he even now implemented more than just a step back. He's got sidestep threes. The list goes on and on. The kid's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's incredible. He shot 5 for 6 from the three-point line. I mean, that was just awesome to see from the 21-year-old kid, who's a stud, by the way, and it's just unreal. I got a question for you, though, about Joel Embiid.
Okay.
I was watching the game with friends from school, and can Joel Embiid be impacted from not winning the MVP because James Harden coming to Philly involve his points and his stats dropping? Can that influential that happen? Like, can that affect him not winning the MVP? Is that a possibility?
Sure. I guess anything is possible. And thanks so much for the phone call. But the way I see it is James Harden makes Joel Embiid better. Joel Embiid is going to put up 30-plus points. He's going to dominate. And to be honest with you, what's more important to Joel Embiid? See, I think that's more of, and I've been down this road a billion times. I don't give a damn about regular season accolades. I don't. Do I want Joel Embiid to win it? Absolutely. Do I care about a three-person team right now? If Joel gives me 27 and Harden gives me 25 and Maxey gives me 25 and that wins me a championship, I'll take that any single day. And Joel Embiid will take that any single day as well over Embiid averaging something along the lines of 35 points, 36 points, and then winning an MVP trophy. But Maxey isn't as involved in the offense, and the rhythm of the offense isn't in sequence as much as you would prefer. And I'm not saying that you're bringing that up, but I just feel like it's not really something that I care about, and it's not something that I feel we should pour all of our emotions into. Who cares right now if he's giving you 38 or if he's giving you 28? The team is winning, and they're still trying to fully grasp how this is going to look. This is them, as James Harden said the first time he was able to speak for the media. We're just playing. I have no idea any of these plays. We're just out there. That's what they're doing right now. So when they're just out there, Embiid's still giving you almost 30. He's giving you 27. He's giving you 28 points. He's giving you almost 30. Imagine what happens when they do know what they're doing, or when someone can actually establish a pass into the post so Embiid doesn't lose his damn mind. Or just give him the basketball and let him go to work. Those type of details will definitely be ironed out. And when they do, that 28 points will go back to 34, 36. It's just a couple games. I do find it funny that after Joel Embiid, let's see here. Let's go to his stats. Let's go to his game log. You go to his stats, it's like a couple games, and now we're discussing if he's going to be able to win MVP after a couple high 20 nights. Okay, is this the point? Yeah, points. 20. Here's his last 4 games. 27, 37, 34, 42. Let me repeat that. 27, 37, 34, 42. Over the rest of their time playing together, Embiid will be fine. When you add a special talent to another special talent, it helps both players thrive, and it helps both players' numbers more than it does hinder them and make it worse. Joel Embiid will be just fine. He's not going to lose how successful he has become this season. He's just too damn good to allow for that to even happen. He's going to get enough shots. There's never going to be games where he's just not getting enough shots over a long period of time. 1 game out of 30 maybe. 2 games out of 30 maybe. There's a once-in-a-blue moon scenario. But if you're talking about the full body of work, they're going to be just fine. He's going to be just fine. And I don't think, honestly, that it even matters. Because if they're winning, that's all. That's the way I see it. I don't care how many Embiid has, how many Maxey has, or how many Harden has. If collectively, as a group and as a trio, we're in the ballpark that we've been over the 4 games, I mean, I'm going to use this again. We can use it with the 48 minutes of play, 20 minutes of great play, 20 minutes of play. What do you do with the rest? Well, let's think about scoring in basketball games. If you're going to score 120-something points, if Embiid, Harden, and Maxey give you X amount of points as a trio, and Niang and Danny Green and Shake and maybe Matisse Thybulle, if you're lucky, can give you 8 points, 6 points, cutting off the off the baseline there and cutting without the ball in his hands. If you can get X amount of points from the rest of the crew, I don't care where they're coming from, just how do you get them on that given night? But to answer the original question, is it going to hurt him? No, I don't think it's going to hurt him. It's only going to help him. I truly, truly believe that. There was one sequence where Matisse Thybulle was so wide open underneath the basket, he ended up swinging it to the corner, and the ball moved around. They ended up getting a different look. It might have been a Maxey jumper. I think it ended up swinging all the way around the perimeter from one corner to the other with quick ball movement, and then Maxey ended up maybe taking a few steps in either a floater or a mid-range jay. I think that was the sequence. There were obviously so many possessions, but regardless of how it ended, Thybulle was wide open underneath the basket. And that reminded me of another situation. Where was the game? It might have been the first game against New York in Madison Square Garden, where Tobias drained that big 3, but he sucked all night long. Matisse Thybulle was wide open underneath the basket and elected to kick it out instead. They drained it, so it worked, and it benefited you. But it's just that mentality of Matisse Thybulle that I'm concerned about for the long term. And I think that that's very fair to be a little nervous about for the long term, for sure. I want to thank everybody so much for hanging out with me tonight. That was a lot of fun watching that basketball game. And we get to sleep, wake up, and then do it again tomorrow night. There's also a big UFC event tomorrow night, too. Colby Covington and Masvidal, and it's going to be a ton of fun to see that play out. But we're also going to do our post-game show then as well. We're getting a $10 donation coming in. I can't thank you enough for the support and all of the chats and everybody involved with the super chats and all the phone calls. You guys are tremendous, and it's a lot of fun hanging out with you all after the games, and I can't wait to continue. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You guys are just fantastic. So if you are new to the channel, remember, smash that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up button, TikTok Broads Media. We're having a lot of new incorporations. That horrible grammar. We're winding down. But Broads Media on TikTok, hit the follow button there. If you're looking to buy tickets to go to any game, by the way, the Sixers are an insane watch live. Promo code Broads at SeatGeek's checkout page. That will get you $20 off of your purchase. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me tonight. I will see you all tomorrow night. Same place, maybe a little bit later, though. Not same time, probably an hour later, considering I believe it's an 8 o'clock start in Miami. So I'll double check that right now. It is an 8 p.m. start. Yes. Anyway, I've been rambling on for a little bit of time now. Thank you guys so much. I will see you tomorrow. Go Sixers.